No, I'm not a writer.
Okay.
Happy day, guys. Thank you very much for being here. My name is Omar, coming at you guys from West Coast, British Columbia, Canada. On this very beautiful temperate day, we have had a wonderful week so far. What an amazing week it's been. We've learned so much, and so much awareness has been raised. We've made some great friends. And here we are with our panel discussion today. Kathy, welcome. Wow, what an incredible week it's been so far.
Yeah, I have to say this was even better than I thought it would be, which I already knew. All these people were amazing contributors to consciousness and raising consciousness, but they hit it out of the park. All of them did. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. I enjoyed every single one, their testimonies, their experiences, their wisdom, what they've learned. I've enjoyed immensely, lots of notes for me, and, a lot of study to be done now, because this is really the first step towards, awareness and understanding is, you talk with all these people that have all these experiences. And then to go back afterwards and then re-listen and then do research and raise awareness and try to get the understanding as to what is going on. What is going on here? Who is that?
Wow.
Yeah, it sounds like somebody has something going on in the background. Is that me? Yeah, it sounds like somebody has something going on in the background. Oh, Kathy, I think you have something playing in the background. Yeah, I just muted your mic, and I think you have something playing there in the back. I muted you. Maybe you want to unmute yourself, and then we'll see if we got something going on here. All right.
Just do that then.
It was the ghost.
Yeah, I did have things open because I've been sharing it. Sorry.
All good. All good, Kathy. That
was different.
What an amazing week. Okay, let's do a quick rundown, Kathy, as to everyone that was on our series this week. And then we'll bring all our participants on, because there's no need to do introductions today, as we've done them all week long. And I'm sure people are quite familiar with everyone that is going to be on the panel today, because everyone's actually been really interested in this. I saw a message a couple days ago from Denise Vertucci, and she was mentioning that she had set her alarm clock to our stream here because she's so interested in this subject, and and everyone else is like that too. They've been coming in, so it's nice to have everyone with us. Thank you everyone for being here with us. Please give this stream a like and a share with friends and family with whom you think will benefit from this week's series, and as well as today's panel. It's going to be quite enlightening. As you guys know, I love panel discussions because of the exchange of ideas that go back and forth. And to me, I just love, this aspect of our series when we put them on. So, Kathy, let's do it. Okay. We started off the week.
We started out with Tricia Barker, who's now Tricia Barker Barton, healing from the other side, and her amazing stories about how this opened up. Her near-death experience opened up the aptitude and capability of healing. Then there's Dr. Pamela Gerali, who is hopefully going to be on in a little bit. She has lessons from past lives. She explains that she experienced within 2 hours or less 15 past lives. Wow. All at once, and cleared all of that knowledge and past trauma.
And I'm surprised she's still sane, Kathy.
I know. Well, everything's relative. No, I'm kidding. No, she really is. She's amazing. Then one of my favorite people, Peter Panagore, he talked about mysticism and the path to the beloved. And during his talk, he explained in detail about his freezing to death experience when he was like 20 years old. And it was amazing. He's just brilliant at articulating the mystical.
Man, dude, you can say that all over again, because I have never, ever in my lifetime have heard such a complete, detailed description of an NDE. I've interviewed a lot of people on this NDE. This is like I think my third or fourth series I've done on this subject, and I've talked to a lot of people. And wow, Peter, that was like a grand slam. I've never heard articulation like that ever. So that was incredible. I'm really looking forward to bringing Peter back and exploring more of his thoughts and his mysticism. And Jose, wow, my neighbor.
Yeah, do you want to say it? You can
No,
talk
go
about
ahead,
this
Kathy.
one.
Go
Okay.
ahead, Kathy.
Well, Jose Hernandez, who is an amazing artist, when he had his near-death experience, he saw color and felt color as a consciousness. And he is able to create healing art. In fact, some of his art is going into hospitals. He showed us some of his art and explained it. It's multimedia. It is amazing. And again, that was a very visceral experience for me, listening to his talk as well.
Absolutely. And I think from what I understand, some of his art pieces are going into the new edition of the Kamloops Hospital that just got built. So I'm actually going to go there and film it and see what's going on over there. So it's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm going to be heading down to Summerland to go and hook up with Jose and do an in-person talk, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's great. And then the beautiful Brooke Grove was here, and she is here again today. And she is a conduit for healing the trauma of the human spirit that is so neglected. In fact, she's a champion for people that have had trauma, for them to work through it. And she's been a voice that I'm sure she's just getting started on her journey to really helping millions and millions of people.
Yeah.
So that was brilliant too.
Oh yeah, Brooke was awesome. I really enjoyed her presentation, her discussion, and saw in the comments on the video here that there's some people going to be reaching out to her to see how they can use her techniques to help others heal. So, that was, I would say, the most positive thing I've seen all week come out of this is that someone is going to reach out and then use this practice to help others. I find that it really resonates within my own heart space that that is happening, and that awareness and consciousness and love is going to be shared with others who may not even have an idea about any of this stuff. So it's a nice ripple effect. I really like that.
Yeah.
And then least but not last,
my friend Caroline Chang. And Caroline is a beacon of oneness and love. And she is a truther. So she doesn't have her eyes closed to the truth. In fact, she's elevated her consciousness above the truth.
Mm-hmm.
So this 3D truth, let's put it that way. So she's an inspiration, and each one of these people, I just have to say, I'm just thrilled with what I've learned, and I've known these people. I've heard these people before. A lot of them have been on my show, but they're evolving their conversation, and I think the common denominator is everyone, whether they're just starting on their spiritual journey or they've been on it for a long time, everyone dies. Mm-hmm. And so there's this common denominator to know about that. So you can start anywhere. You can start from the stories and not kind of putting yourself in somebody else's story, to all the way of being in the story with people. Like when Peter was there, I was freezing on the ice. So I mean, it's amazing the opportunity that this gives to help people heal and to know and to start to connect with their journey to their higher knowing.
Absolutely, Kathy. I agree. And, this physical avatar has its limits and its time. And we should enjoy it as much as we can because, as I said, this is a vacation from our physical self into this 3D playground, sandbox, or whatever it is, a stage, a play, a movie. Whatever it is, just enjoy it, have fun with it, love everything and everyone, and especially yourself. And, that's the joy of things.
The other thing I hope that everyone in the audience can feel is the heart space,
Hmm.
because that's the other thing is I these people feel like home to me.
Hmm.
They almost help activate a remembrance program module in the brain or in the heart that allows you to access that other part of you that remembers, not the part
Hmm.
that forgot, that's all stuck in details and brain stuff. This is straight to here. So it's the journey from here to here that they're helping everyone experience. It's
Hmm.
beautiful.
Yeah, like Peter reaching out to like millions of people, right? That is incredible. Caroline, with her podcast, reaching out to millions of people and changing perceptions and ideas, and that goes along with all of our speakers. They're just incredible human beings that are vibrating, right from the heart space, and and that's exactly where these guys are coming from. So, Kathy, why did we do this week?
We did this week because all of these blessed beings are part of the IANDS International Association for Near Death Studies conference that's coming up next week. It's the annual conference for this nonprofit, and all of these people come together and provide their programs, their talks, and create a love wave. When they're all together, there'll be over 325, 350 people in person, over 200 people online. And the online entry, if you do get to have an online ticket, it's available. All the recordings will be available for 180 days. So all of these people are giving so generously of their time, their love, their energy to be a part of all of this. And Peter's going to be actually an MC and a presenter there. So he's got a big job.
Nice, nice. This is amazing. Thank you to IANDS for really putting this conference together to share this wisdom and to share what is going on, with these people and the wisdom that they have to offer. So, thank you for co-creating and co-hosting this with me, Kathy.
Sure.
It's been amazing. It's been a lot of fun, and let's get into it. Let's bring our
Okay.
speakers on, and let's hear from them. So we'll start with Caroline Chang. Caroline, welcome. Thank you for being here. I so enjoyed our conversation yesterday. It was incredible. Actually, I was thinking about it afterwards, and wow, it was beautiful. Thank you for that wonderful experience yesterday. And
Thanks.
here's my man, Peter Panagore. Boy, oh boy, I love this guy. The articulation from him is just amazing. Just a total mistake. I cannot wait to have Peter on and to engage with him and to learn from him. So thank you, Peter, for being here. I totally appreciate you, brother. I really do from the bottom of my heart. And then let's bring on Brooke Grove. Brooke, wow. The thing that really, sticks with me. See, I even got goosebumps as I'm saying this, of like being up here and, disconnected and connected. And, I've been thinking about that as well for the past several days. And who, wow, my brain is, it's like this big right now. It's like all the information and, is how to decode that information. It's going to take a little while, probably like a few weeks, maybe a couple months to really fully understand what every single one of you had mentioned, and that what you've experienced and what you shared with us, it is like next level stuff when it comes to trying to understand consciousness, right? So I thank you guys all. We're missing, guys, we're missing two people from our panel. We're missing Jose. He might come in, but having some internet problems. And then same thing with Dr. Gerali. See, I said it properly. Dr. Gerali, and she's having some connection problems. So hopefully they can join us. And if they do, then we'll bring them on. If not, then thank you very much for their participation this week. And it's the thought that counts, and I appreciate that. And yeah, let's get into it, Kathy. The way I've been doing panels for the last few years. It's all from trial and error and from learning and then correcting those mistakes. And before, what I did with my panels was that I asked a question, and then the panel answered that question, and then went to the next question. And from my experience, what I discovered is that quarterbacking a panel like that, I am, doing a disservice by directing it in a certain direction, and it's not really generic. So what I'd like to do, and what I have been doing, is that I start off with all of my speakers. They express themselves, introduce themselves. They talk about their experience for like 5-10 minutes, and then go to the next speaker, next speaker, next speaker, and then we do a second round. And during the second round, you can make comments and maybe relate with what other speakers are saying, maybe build on what the other speakers were saying, and then we'll do the third round as a closing round where you can do your final remarks and your final words to the audience. And I find that that is the best way to do a panel, because in that way it remains generic and I'm not influencing it in any which way, shape, or form, because I want this to be as generic, as it possibly can, right? So I don't want to really, interfere with what is already working. So who should we start with? Should we do paper, scissors, rocks, or how about we start with Caroline, and then from Caroline we will jump to Brooke, and then from Brooke we'll jump to Peter, and then from Peter we'll go to Kathy, and then from Kathy to myself, and then we'll do the second and the third round. So go ahead, Caroline, please.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much, Omar. It was so wonderful. Yesterday meeting you, I know Kathy for a long time. We go way back, but it was wonderful meeting you. I wanted to kind of just, you mentioned about all of the information that you've learned and taken in this past week with all these wonderful guests, and you were talking about the mind. And as you were doing that, I was like, I was kind of shaking my head. No. This is my suggestion. You filter all of that information that you have gained this week through your heart, not the mind. The heart is unlimited. The heart, your heart and soul, which your soul is directly connected to the heart, is so much more expansive. There's no limit to your heart wisdom. I don't know if you ever heard of heart math, but this has been proven scientifically. So your heart, so people, and that's what people tend to do. They try to filter things through the mind, and that's not where you should, because the mind is so limited. But your heart and your soul is infinite wisdom. The mind is very limited wisdom. So I just want to say thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to be a part of this. I'm so happy to be one of the featured speakers this year at IANDS Conference 2022 in Salt Lake City. The title, the theme of the conference is Timeless Oneness. So they kind of reached out to me because they said, oneness, Caroline, you get it. And that is basically, I'm grounded. For me, oneness is not just mental. It's not just a concept. It's what I live in every now moment. And that started for me in September of 2007 when I watched a documentary film called What the Bleep. And in that film, there was actually one statement that was the catalyst to my spiritual awakening. It wasn't a scientist, it was a journalist, Lynn McTaggart. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with her, but she's amazing. Please check out her work, Lynn McTaggart. She said one sentence that was the catalyst to my awakening. The sentence she said is that the biggest problem in the world today is the illusion of separation. And when she said that, something woke up inside of me here in the heart and soul, not here, but here. It just woke up and like, that is so true. Because of the separation consciousness, every problem on earth comes from that consciousness, thinking that we're separate and we're separate from God, even in religion. I mean, I went to Catholic school as a child. I was very active in church when my children were young. I mean, it's this separation from God. We think that we're been led to believe we're separate from God. We're
Mm-hmm.
not. We can never be, not even, we can think we're separate from God, and that, you know, causes all of our pain. But we can never, ever, 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 for not a split second, be separate from God. We are not separate from God, and we're not separate from each other. And I shared with you yesterday, my favorite quote from Rumi is, "You're not a drop in the ocean. You are the entire ocean in a drop." Each one of us is all of God, not a piece of God, but all of God. We're holographic drops of God. And holographic means all in just a drop. So each one of us we're creating this dream of our own creation. And that's another thing that is very important to own our dream. Not to say, oh, so-and-so is doing this, or so-and-so, it's my mother's fault, it's my father's fault, it's my spouse's fault, it's my children's fault, whoever. Not blaming our situation on others outside of us. Owning everything that we experience, owning it as our own creation, because it is. We created it from before we even were born. We made soul agreements. All of our challenges, every one of them, we planned before our birth. And every challenge is our greatest blessing. Every single challenge. My son transitioning at 29 years old in 2014 was my greatest blessing. Now, of course, I would still want him here in the physical, but I understood at the moment of his transition that it was his soul's time. Every soul comes into this life experience in perfect divine timing, and every soul leaves this life experience in perfect this divine timing. There are no accidents. So I knew that it was his perfect divine timing to leave his body. I knew he wasn't leaving. I knew there is no death. I don't use that term. I know there is no such thing as death. There is only eternal life. So I knew he wasn't going anywhere. And I knew it was a soul plan before my birth. He and I made this soul plan together, that he would leave early. He'd come in for 29 years, and he would be my son. He chose me to be his mom, but he would leave early, but I would stay here and continue the work that needed to be done. So that was a soul agreement. And everything that happens in every now moment is a soul agreement that we've made before we even were born. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Caroline. That was amazing. Thank you for that share. And Jose, welcome. Jose, as we were speaking earlier, he's made it, and I'm very, very happy to see that. Jose, I was just explaining to all the panelists the way we're doing our panel here is we do the first round, introducing ourselves and, speaking on whatever matters that you'd like to speak on. And then the second round we do is we pick up on what all the panelists are saying. And then the third round, we will do our closing remarks. So we are going in the order of Caroline, Brooke, Peter, and then yourself afterwards. So, Brooke, go ahead, please.
Okay. Good day, beautiful people. Thank you for being here with me. It's so nice to see you on screen, but I'm even more excited for next week. That said, what an auspicious time. I am so ineffably grateful to be with you here today. Peter knows this, but just 4 years ago, I was the girl at IANDS hiding behind sunglasses, not speaking. His first words to me were actually, "Do you talk?" I was that shy and I was that deep into my after effects. And yet at the same time, I started pushing through my discomfort. And 3 years ago, I believe it was 2019, I spoke for the first time, and I was speaking about trauma when it was still a dirty word. And I was kind of really nervous and scared, but I had this knowing that things were about to change and that all of the suffering that I was continuously going through was medicinal, and that I could somehow put that on the altar of the stage and turn it into ceremony and give it back as a gift and stand in alignment to the light in service. And so I went into the grand ballroom in 2019 when it was empty in my yoga clothes, and I sat there and I manifested everything I wanted. I told that stage I'd be a featured speaker within 3 years. It's 3 years now. I told God, Goddess, Creator, the One, the Ineffable, whatever vernacular you choose. I told Creator that I knew that this relationship I was in at the time was unhealthy and toxic and holding me back, and I was going to leave and I needed assistance. They supported me in that. I said I want to leave clinical psychology and create some sort of alternative spiritually oriented practice. I had no idea how or why. I made my website that day at the conference. And that's all come to fruition. They reminded me gently as these things unfolded that there was still some karmic duty on my end. And last year, at this time, I became sick again. By fall, I was intubated for the second time in my life. I went through multiple spiritually transformative experiences. My lungs failed again. I went through a dramatic period of complex PTSD. I was very isolated, very alone, forced to not communicate with others again, powerless about it, very little support because I had left trauma and an abusive childhood and an abusive man. Suddenly I was on my own. And yet I always had spirit. And I always had the knowing that every single scrape, every single ounce of scar tissue has always made me stronger. And every ounce of it has connected me to the right people at the right time. And I know it is no coincidence that the date exactly aligns that we are here today and that we will be together next week. So I am so grateful to be with you all. And I've often, when I give these talks and I talk about the trauma or the ongoing suffering, I'll have persons come at me that say, you know, you're choosing this or you're in victim consciousness. And it's like, no, did you listen to my NDE? They specifically told me I was coming back to continually walk a difficult path. But it was so that I could take that suffering and put it on a holy plate of gratitude as an offering that we can overcome anything. And we can do it by our own means, and we can do it outside the system, and we can color outside the lines, and we can fly. So thank you for being here with me today.
Oh, so cool, Brooke. I love your energy and how you articulate yourself. It's beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Peter, go ahead, please.
I want to talk a little bit about art for a moment here because Jose is here, and he's an artist, and there's Brooke, who is a poet. And I don't know you yet, Carolyn Chang, but I'm sure that I'll get to see you at IANDS. But art arises from the spirit, and it often comes. I know some near-death experiencers who've produced some form of art in their lives. I know a number of mystical people who haven't had near-death experiences who've produced a lot of art in their lives. And I think that the art arises from this inability to say exactly what we mean. And so a poet uses metaphor and simile, and a painter uses oils and multimedia, and it's always an expression of this thing that can't be said. And this has been true for centuries around the world in every single culture. And so, when Jesus was talking, when Muhammad was talking, and Lao Tzu was talking, and Rumi was talking, and Hafez was talking, all of these people, they're always using metaphor and simile to express it. That's because it is unspeakable. It really is, as Caroline was saying, a matter of the intelligence of the heart. And it's not so much the knowledge of the brain. One of the things that I went to after I died, I'm Peter Panagore. I died ice climbing. And when I was 20 years old, I went to Catholic school too, and knew a little bit about Jesus because of the Catholic school thing. When I went to divinity school, I went there in order to study mysticism and mosquito in my studio. And I went to divinity school to study mysticism, but language. And what I discovered inside of the study of language is that no one in the history of the world has ever been able to say it accurately. And what you end up with is the Upanishads and the Vedas and the Bible and the Quran and all these expressions and all the Sikh, I can't remember the name of the Sikh book. But anyway, there's lots of others of these scriptural books, and all of the originators of all of these religions, including Baha'i and Zoroastrianism, they're all mystical people. And they all have these mystical experiences, and they're fairly rare. And they produce this material that then expresses as the best as they're able to do in the context of their culture. And some of this is even shamanic. In the context of the shamanic cultures throughout the world, it's expressed through the brain into the world and the language and the history of the people. So it's always filtered. And art and poetry and music is a way to try to remove some of the filters to express it a little more directly. When I listen to Love Supreme, a jazz song, when I listen to Love Supreme, I feel inside of the musician. I'm blanking on his name. Help me out, somebody. Jazz Love Supreme. I hear the sound of his heart inside his music. When I look at the paintings of Cezanne, when I'm standing in front of them and I'm absorbed into the painting itself, and I see his soul inside the art. So there's an expression that comes from the depth of the soul that gets woven into things. My grandmother used to say to me, I'd say to her, "Oh, yeah, I'm half Greek. Yeah, Grandma, this bread is so delicious. What do you do to make it so great?" She'd say, "I put love into it. I put love into it. I put out this energy from the center of my soul into the world around me." And it's not just only in art. It's in all of our lives. And so there's the center of yourself. If you have access to it, if you develop through an act of will, meditation, an inner life journey is an act of will. You drive your car into yourself. You go into this tunnel. You choose to do this. And as you choose to do this, you journey in there. And there comes a point at which the swinging door begins to open. And then there's this co-creation that happens. All of the artists and painters and that I know who have a mystical bent to their lives, and I keep meeting more of them. There's this muse. In the ancient Greeks, they talked about the visitation of the muse, and they would listen to the muse, and the muse would speak. I don't know about you, Brooke, and Jose has gone away for a moment here, but when I'm writing, when I'm inside of the divine presence, there's a flow coming into me, and I've moved my will in such a way as to try to negate myself in order to open up space for this to flow inside of me. And then the art produces. And it doesn't just have to be in the art world. This interior journey of the heart, of the intelligence of the heart, involves the silencing of the mind in order to listen and experience. It's not so much what I know in my head. It's not all of the languaging that I have that I produce in storytelling. I'm a storyteller. I tell the story of my life, the story of the divine. But really what I'm trying to do is weave inside the language and underneath it and around it and encapsulate it with the experience of the divine energy itself, which is accessible inside us, between us, and among us. And one of the things that the first time I went to an IANDS conference, and happens every time I got to an IANDS conference, is that the people who come, the near-death experiencers. Oh, let me put that aside for a second and say, I love the science of the International Association for Near-Death Studies. I love science. I follow. I got American Scientific for 10 years, and I read it. So, but that to me is an important tool to use the mind to let other people who don't feel this have an idea of what the truth is. All right? We can find empirical evidence about this. But when I get to the IANDS conference, what I love about this is that when I'm sure it's going to happen when I run into you, Caroline, and I know it's going to happen when I see you again, Brooke, is that the radiance of the inner heart is magnified in the collective. And in the collective, we all grow more brilliant by the light of each other. And then there's this huge bubble. And the very first time I walked into the IANDS conference, as I entered the hotel through the doors, it was like Alice in Wonderland. Suddenly I'm in a whole nother world. And like, or a yellow submarine with the Beatles. I think they're human beings in the beginning, and they become cartoons, something like that. But the radiance of the presence of the and it doesn't matter what tradition they're from, and everybody's got a tradition, and that's the thing that divides us in the world of religion. Everybody's got a tradition. They all got a doctrine. They all got a dogma. They got something to defend, an idea that it's the truth. But the truth is really this transcendental experience of the divine presence itself, this pantheistic presence of the divine inside of all things, including us, that's expressed inside us. I know that I am one of the things that puts near-death experiences together is that no matter what level you go to, what heaven you go to, and there's lots of these heavens, no matter what one you go to, you know when you come back into your body that your consciousness is separate from your body, that you exist and your body also exists. And this collective experience of this higher level self is fundamental in my relationship with all of my peers. And my peer group isn't just near-death experiencers. My peer groups are mystical experiencers, transformative, spiritually experienced people who've had a change in their lives in such a way that it sparked this intelligence in their heart that they pursue it. So that's all I'm going to say for now. I'm going to button my lip up like Brooke did that first year that I met her, and now look at her.
Thank you.
Peter, you're a comedian as well.
Hey, I think Jesus was funny. I do. I think a lot of, when you see the truth of Maya, then you can laugh.
Yes, absolutely. And you were mentioning Yellow Submarine there a couple of minutes ago, and I tell you, back in late 90s, I suppose, a long time ago, but I had that song stuck in my head for a good 8 months. Peter, I
Shall
tell
we
you,
sing it? You want to sing it? You want to sing it
no,
with
it's
me?
gonna get in my head again. Okay, let's do it.
I'm only kidding.
Kathy, you wanna come on and share some of your thoughts with us?
Well, I have to say I had tears just then when Brooke was speaking, because I just came from a client meeting where we're working on someone's mission, and this person may be at the next IANDS meeting. She's just magical being, and she started crying when we started talking about all those things that you went through them so that you could help others. And that's what, when you hear all of these stories, they just burst your heart open. And sometimes that hurts. I mean, for people that are just starting on their journey, it's not just a heartache, it's a explosion. And what I find, these stories that these brilliant people are sharing, their art, their gifts, their genius, is the path to that heart opening. And whether or not it's through a hardship or not, or just their expression of the way they see the world, it's so beneficial. And that's what's going to wake up humanity, because we are all one. We all, if we get out of our box and out of the fear of learning something new, we have the chance to really make a difference. And that's why I just love this group. Also, as Peter said, you walk into the hotel and all of a sudden you walk into a field and it's palpable. You walk into this field and go, ah, it feels like home. I like this. And there isn't judgment in home. There's entertainment. There's there's learning. There's a delight. There's a safety of not having to explain. It's almost as though you're telepathic with so many people because you hardly have to speak. But then there's the brand new experiencers. They just had a spiritually transformative experience, or they just hit a near-death experience and they have no words. And that, just like what Brooke was saying, she was in the corner listening, going, is it safe? Is it safe to come out? But then they can't stop talking once they start talking. Right? I don't know about you guys, but I would be walking down a hall and someone would grab me by the arm. I wasn't in the experiencer lounge. I was a volunteer. They grabbed me by the arm and let me tell you what happened. And I was like, oh, okay. So, I mean, once that dam starts breaking open and it's safe to be that beautiful heart space, be home and be expressive in this world. There's nothing like it. I'm getting chills just talking about it. It's quite remarkable. It's visceral, you guys. That's what I want the audience to understand. This isn't a construct. This is experiential.
It's an energy. If I may say something to that, for this entire week, I have had to prepare my energetic field for walking in there because it is such a delicious energy. But last time in 2019, I thought I had done an adequate job. And the minute, and I'm not kidding you, the minute I crossed into the sliding glass doors at King of Prussia, I went out of my body and had to run out into the parking lot and try to find grass in Philly. There was no grass. Like, I was literally like over this thing trying to ground myself. And all of these like old timer NDEers were like that, huh? I'm like, yes, it's like that. So this week, I'm not joking, I have had massages like every other day to pull me in. I've had cupping to detox the physical body. I've had acupuncture to clear the meridians.
Wow.
I've been fasting for 7 days, and I've been doing sound healing as much as possible. I'll be doing another round today, and that's just to really anchor my soul into here so that I can hold all of that energy without jumping up here.
Perfect.
So it's
I'm
delicious.
going to jump in and say I've been fasting for a week too, on again, off again all week, and meditating as much as I possibly can in order to, well, very similarly, Brooke.
See?
Prep. Got to do the prep work.
Definitely.
Well,
speaking of fasting, I'd like to understand your guys' idea of fasting. I'll tell you something that I do as a reference point, and let me know if this is considered fasting. What I do for myself is, and I've been doing this for decades, right? It's like a habit of mine. And what I do is I eat only one time a day, and that is at nighttime. I have a supper, and then that's it. And then that's the only consumables I'll have all day long. And then throughout the day, I'll juice. I'll drink a lot of juice and get my vitamins and minerals and such from there. And then when I was younger, I was raised as a Muslim, and when I was younger, during Ramadan, once a year, there's Ramadan is the fasting period. Is cleansing the body, cleansing the soul, kind of deal. And I used to do that type of fasting as well when I was younger. And that type of fasting is actually, you know, very, very difficult. Takes a lot of discipline to do it. And what happens is that you eat before sunrise and you drink as much as you can before sunrise. And while the sun is up, you can't drink or eat or swallow or take anything into your body until the sun goes down. And then each day of the fast, it becomes longer and longer and longer, right? The sunrise is earlier and sunset is later. So the discipline in that is, you have to have a lot of willpower. And as I grew out of the religious program, I guess it just psychologically stuck with me. And from that point on, as far back as I can recall, very rarely do I have breakfast. Very rarely will I have lunch. It's just a small meal at nighttime. And mostly now it's a lot of vegetables. I've really given up meat, I would say the last couple of years. I do consume a little bit of meat, but, whenever it's put on my plate, I'm almost disgusted by it. Right. I'll eat like a little bit of it just out of programming and habit. And then the rest I'll just push aside and I'll eat my vegetables and salads and things like that. So that is my form of fasting that I've been doing. So I'd like to understand, what kind of techniques or, type of fasting that you guys do. Go ahead, Carol.
Yeah, I'll jump in because actually I've been taking notes and I want to actually have something. I have something I want to just spawn. So I'll start with the fasting. Myself, I do intermittent fasting like you. Omar, I only eat once a day. I am what you call organic keto. And 5 days a week, I'm vegetarian organic keto, and I have one healthy keto meal, usually between 4 p.m. and 6 p.m. I try not to eat anything solid after 6 p.m., but that one meal. And then what I try to do throughout the day, which keeps me not hungry at all, is drink a lot of water, organic herbal tea, organic, because I'm keto, I only have organic lemon berry, sweetened with stevia or monk fruit. So it's basically with keto, you're cutting out, you're really eliminating all of the carbs as much as you can. So I've been doing that, but I do so that's daily for me. But what I try to do once a month for at least 3 days in a row is just do raw food fast for 3 days, I'll just have organic organic superfood green smoothie and a salad for that day. So, and then of course, as much water, only spring water. I do not drink water with fluoride in it. And all my entire kitchen is completely organic. And I make everything myself. Even I make my own mayo. I love it. Organic mayo. I make everything you name it. I make myself from organic fruit and vegetables. And so that answers the question for fasting. And just going through my notes, I just put, as my first IANDS conference was 2019 in the Philadelphia area. I lived just 2 hours north of Philadelphia. So I had just learned of IANDS, and I had Diane, who was the president at the time, on my show, and Lilia. They were both on my show 2 weeks before IANDS, and they invited me as press. So I had a press pass, and it was just a 2-hour drive. I was like, I'm so there. And plus, I had a friend that lived not far from the hotel. So I was like, I'll just stay with my friend. I didn't even have to because like you say, since I launched my podcast in March of 2015. And I've been to quite a few conferences, but there is no conference that can touch IANDS. When you walk in that door and you feel you're home and you're surrounded by family. So I didn't even have to go to my friend's house. I was like, oh, you can stay in my room. I have an extra bed. Oh, you can stay in my room. I have an extra bed. Oh, I'll pay you. No, you don't have to pay me. It was coming home. It was coming home, and that was 2019. I had my press pass on, and I was just in heaven. I share that all the time, that I've been to many, many conferences, but IANDS is the absolute best. And when you were talking, Brooke, about your trauma, I've done a video on this. I know, because I had a guest on that was talking about in between life regression. So not, going to a past life, but going to your planning stage. And the first thing they were telling me is about a person who actually planned in this lifetime to come into this lifetime without their soul family, to be independent. And that's really tough to do. But when I was hearing that experience, I knew instinctively that's what I did. I've never had close family. I've never had close friends. And I actually, but my awakening came from my solitude, because I spent that time alone, going in and meditating and staying in nature. I've always loved nature, being around water. And so I know from my soul decided to come into this lifetime without my soul family. My soul family is in spirit, but I also now know that now there is a soul tribe that is awakening, because we're in the midst of humanity's awakening. So I connect with my soul tribe when I go to IANDS. So that feels really good. And art. Peter says he hasn't really gotten to know me, but with my art is multimedia. I love to design video, either from montages with photographs, or video and photographs mix, or just video clips I design. And what I've been doing lately is designing inspirational messages, video inspirational messages, and uploading them to my YouTube channel a lot. I try to do that at least 3 times. Matter of fact, I'm definitely doing one today. But that is my form of art, is creating multimedia presentations. And I'm great at PowerPoint, and you'll get to see if you see. My PowerPoints are very visual, not a lot of words, because image speaks 1,000 words. And let's see, love in every now moment. I wrote that down, meaning that just being, because that's what the essence of who we are is, love. Unconditional love. So not human love, where I love you today and don't love you tomorrow. Not that kind of love. God is unconditional love. And what we want to strive to be is that unconditional love in every now moment. So I asked myself, what would love do in this moment? So, and let's see. Oh, quantum physics. I think Peter mentioned something about science. It was science that was the catalyst to my awakening. What quantum physics speaks about is the unified field theory, quantum entanglement, which basically means everything is energy. Everything is God is just energy. Nothing is outside of God. Everything is energy vibrating at a certain frequency. And that energy is interconnected and interdependent. And that isn't a theory, because all of today's technology, God bless you, all of today's technology, well, the computer, your cell phone, all of today's technology comes from quantum physics. So it's not a theory. It's everything. We could not have the computers and the cell phones and all the technology we have today without the unified field and without the quantum entanglement. Everything is connected. Everything is that one thing. And then you guys were talking about the yellow submarine. My first movie that I ever saw, I was like 5 years old, was the yellow submarine. I'll never forget that, because I happened to be visiting my grandma who lived down south in Georgia. And I was with my cousins. I was like the littlest one. I was with my big cousins and cousins of all ages. And we went to the movies. And the first movie I ever saw was Yellow Submarine. So I'll never forget that. So I think I hit upon all my notes that I was
Man, I'm gonna have Yellow Submarine stuck in my head again now. Thanks, Peter. Thank you. Brooke, go ahead, please.
Okay, well, I guess I'll circle back to fasting because that's where we started this part. But I love how organic it's all connecting. It's beautiful. So I'll talk about that quantum field a bit. As far as fasting for me, I am a seasoned faster insofar as when I had the spontaneous remission from coma and the systemic organ failure, it was largely caused by allopathic medicine on a misdiagnosed condition. So since my prognosis was still very, very poor, and I'm going to give a fact here just for a second, because I did not know until I went onto social media today that it was 12 years ago today. That's what I'm talking about, the timelines here. It's most synchronistic. It was 12 years ago today that I was hospitalized and given a terminal diagnosis. I was told I was going to be in a wheelchair. And this was obviously today is August. By December was when the systemic organ failure occurred, brain trauma, coma, and NDE. So this is a really significant day for me because I remember the day that those words were given to me and my refusal to accept them. Having been a clinical psychologist myself at the time, the doctor was telling me over and over, this is fact, this is the outcome. And I remember looking him in the eye and saying, diagnosis is more of an art than a science. I'll take my chances. So I fought it tooth and nail, even on the other side, and here we are. So circling back to fasting, I am a big enthusiastic supporter of fasting, and here's why. Everybody has a different language for everything. It's just like your language for love. You're going to have a different vibration, a different articulation, a different comfort zone, and different languages and different circumstances with different energies. Fasting is much the same. For me, if I have the vitriol, the dedication, the time, the internal and external support for spiritual, physical, emotional, etheric, and mental needs, I am a big advocate for water fasting. Water fasting is complete fasting. Okay. Today is day 7. I've just introduced juice.
Oh, wow.
So this is my very first thing that I'm having on camera with you guys. Otherwise, it's been entirely water.
Wow.
Now, this is not something it's not something you can just walk into. Okay. You need to prepare for this. And most persons, if you do the research, you're going to start with a day. That's where you start. And then you build your muscle up so you can do it. I've done as far as 10. I've never gone beyond that. But I was taught how to do this. It's not something I just ran into without support. So before I did it, I supplemented the right way. I have been putting electrolytes in the water. I'll transition to bone broth next. Breaking the fast becomes as important as, in fact, it's more important in a lot of ways than what you achieve while you're in it. But I can say this, for me, once you get through those like first 2 days, and I'll admit on like day 2, I was just groggy and mad, and my friends were inviting me out to eat, and I'm like, no, food. I literally like hit out on my own and wrote this whole time, but I treated it like this is me, almost like Jesus going into the desert. This is me going in to confront what needs to clear. It will come up in the writing. It will come up in meditation. It will come up in the cravings. It will come up in the terror. It will come up in the dreams. And then I've been treating each and every one of those messages as some sort of holy initiation to what needs to go. And I love that we've arrived here today on this Virgo new moon, which is all about the physical body, physical health, purification. And here we are, and I'm introducing these foods back in, and we're talking about really the purification of human consciousness, coming back into center as a collective, leaving this individualistic place we've been, so that we can return to the fact that we are all these manifestations and quantum reflections of the creator. Feel me, fasting is a very beautiful way to remove so much of the interference from this timeline. whether it's, self-soothing with food, self-soothing with alcohol. I can give you an example here. My kids have been gone for the first time. Well, this is the first time I've been away from my 5-year-old since he's been born. Okay. So he's with family right now. And I am realizing so much how people associate partying or drinking with rest. Because everybody's asked me, what are you doing? Are you partying? And I'm like, no, I went to Topanga Canyon and fasted for 7 days. They're like, okay, hippie. I'm like, but I feel great. I'm even like, in the beginning of the fast, I was so elated by solitude. And about 4 days in, I started being like, oh, I miss people. And then I would take like small doses of people, and I'm like, no, I miss solitude. Ebb and flow between the two. But it's just been this beautiful experimentation. And when I woke up today and I saw the sun shining through my room and I felt the energy, like you would think, obviously I have a lot of energy. Let's not hide what's already there. But that aside, you would think after 7 days of just water, someone would be tired, hungry, cranky, complete opposite. I'm looking at everything with just new awe, enthusiasm. Everything I put into my body now becomes ceremony. There's a consciousness about it.
Beautiful.
And we lose so much of that in our day to day because we're hustling. We're not realizing that everything we're in connection with, whether it's our hair, our outfit, our voice, our home, cleaning and organizing, the neighbor, do we look them in the eye and smile, or do we ignore them? All of that sets the divine blueprint for how we're going to be able to receive our heart, especially because the heart has the biggest auric field. So if you stretch your arms out 6 feet in each direction, that's what your heart touches. And yet so many of us are walking around in this constriction, thinking we have no influence on anything. And in reality, we can be intimately kissed by it all if we choose to be open. So to me, fasting is a very intentional, no matter which path you choose, intermittent fasting, a day fast, whatever you need for your body and your health. But it is a wonderful tool. And for anyone, as I know a lot of persons that listen to me are coming in with health issues, for those that are called to fasting that might want some assistance, there are places, and I'm not endorsing them, I'm not paid, but there's a place called the Optimum Health Institute here in the United States. They also have a place in Mexico, I believe. And there's other places like this, but they can really assist you in learning how to fast appropriately with supervision. They also have adjunctive services like massage, lymphatic drainage, colon therapy, whatever you need to support you in cleansing. But I highly, highly, highly encourage it as a spiritual practice. This is not a weight loss tool. It's not anything faddish. It takes a lot of stamina. But if you're willing to do the work, it is absolutely worth it.
So true. So true.
You're so correct. This is not a trend or a fad or anything like that. This is very serious business when it comes to fasting. Like you were saying, it's just as important to break the fast as it is, to keep the fast. And, what we did when we were younger is that when the fast was broken, we'd start off with like some rose water or with some rose juice, and then break that with a date. And then, you allow that to go in and settle in your system. And then later on, you would begin to eat. And then it is extremely important to, how you break your fast. But, I'm kind of bad because when I break my fast, I like to eat late, guys. I don't know if that's good or if that's bad. But, I like to have my dinner like around 11 o'clock at night, 10 o'clock at night. And for me, and then I go to sleep right after that. Right. And I've been doing that for a very long time. I haven't gotten fat. I'm still good. Right. But it is very important. And it's very spiritual as well, because when you cleanse your body and your avatar and you're detoxing with that, it allows you to get that connection to the source and to connection with the earth and everything that exists. So it is a beautiful practice, which I feel everyone should do. Peter, let's hear from you, my brother. I'd love to hear your thoughts because you are so articulate. Right? I can literally see a picture as you're speaking. It's beautiful. I love it.
Well, this is how I began my fast this time. I gave up ice cream.
Oh, that's a tough one. Oh,
No, when I did it, I did do that too. But I I'm getting back into fasting again after a long hiatus due to having children, and which is why Brooke was able to go out and do this fast, is because she was kidless this week. And so once my kids arrived, now grown up and then off and married, and then a granddaughter was in the house. So finally, I've been able to get back into my fitness life. And part of my fitness life was the decision to start losing weight. But I never fasted for weight loss in my life. I always fasted for spirituality.
Mhm.
So I had to wait till everyone was literally out of my house, because I get kind of grouchy in the beginning of it all. And so when I was all by myself about 2 weeks ago, I just began to do intermittent fasting. So some days I would skip breakfast and skip lunch and then eat a dinner. And some days I would eat a very small breakfast and a very small I don't know what I call it, dinner, because it would be about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It'd be a little salad. I have an organic garden that I grow, and so I just would eat salad for breakfast and lunch. I'd have something else in it, but I would reduce my portions and skip the middle of my day. And what this does for me, it does take I can imagine what I've never gone 7 days. I've gone 3 days and 4 days, but I've never gone 7 or 10. Oh my God, it takes a lot of willpower. It takes a lot of control of your environment. I always find it hard to fast when I'm around other people who want to eat. So that's, by myself is better. And I had the house to myself for a week. So that's why I did it this way. I'm entering back into it. I'm not an athlete at it anymore. I'm going to be, though. I've begun my process to bring back into fasting in my life. But I want to get back to quantum for a second. Because this week I read, because I read science, I read that a new thing in quantum, the scientists have entangled 14 photons together, which is radically wild to be able to have these 14 photons all essentially one. They are not really separate. They're in different places. They described how they did this process, and they're around this atom, but they're all actually in the same data. So 14 of these things are exactly the same. And I love this because that's what we are on the inside. We are quantumly entangled photons. We are exactly the same at the core of our being in this field. I like to use the Higgs boson field as an example, which is where energy becomes matter in our universe. It's how the quantum realm becomes the macro realm. It's in that quantum field. We are in this quantum field of photons, and we are individuated, and we are also the same. So I love that. And I'm going to swing around to one of the other things you brought up, Caroline, which is the great grand awakening. I love to talk about this because forever in the history of humanity, there have been mystical people. People have had mystical experiences. There have been near-death experiences going back for centuries, and you can find it in the literature. And but what's different, and this is radically different, is that medical science has been raising the dead for 50 years and getting better at it. They didn't intend to do that. They want to resuscitate people. But what they were doing is that they were sending people off into heaven and bringing them back. And when that happens, you become a different person. And so now there's tens and tens and tens of millions of us all over the world. And we have social media, and we're able to connect. I never would have connected with you, Brooke, or with Jose's or Kathy or Omar or with Caroline. Never, ever. Impossible. I live in another country compared to Omar. But through social media, we're now beginning to have conversations. Raymond Moody, back in the 70s, began this conversation in public. Other people joined in over the years, over the decades, and then maybe a decade ago, it started bursting into books, so more books and more books, and now there are movies and videos and conversations and podcasts, and so it's creating this conversation. And what we're discovering is that all these near-death experiencers have all these differences. All their mystical experiences are different from each other. How can that possibly be? It can possibly be because the literature shows for centuries upon centuries that every single mystical person in the history of the world, and it's not just Lao Tzu and Chuang Tzu and Jesus. There's a lot of other literature out there that I could list you off a long name of all these books. Everyone is different. For the history of all of humanity, every mystical person is different. There are 7 billion potential mystics on the planet, and all of us will have overlapping experiences, but our experience is going to be different because our filter is different. And so we have to very much pay attention to the fragmentation of the knowledge. We are the oneness. I am in the oneness of being. But in my head, I only was able to bring back a tiny, tiny portion of what I learned on the other side because of the limitation, the governor of my brain. But it left a noetic understanding in my soul. This is also historically called wisdom. This wisdom inside my soul is the same wisdom that's inside of Brooke, that's inside of Jose, that's inside of Carolyn, that's inside of Kathy. And Omar. This core of my being, to access the very core and the origin of myself, is to connect with humanity. And to do this, fasting is a technique that can drive your will. You have to have a strong will to fast. And one of the things I love about Islam is that they've developed an entire culture of people who have the willpower to fast. So there's this cultural context that Islam has that I don't think any other religion really has, and that is this act of the understanding of the drive of the will. And the driving of the will, you can take your will and you can point it at things, and as you fast, your will can become stronger. As you learn to meditate, your will becomes stronger. And by aiming your will at the oneness of being and not the fragmentation portions of it, which is fine if you want to do that. But if you aim yourself at the oneness of being, you aim yourself at your original self. And when you aim yourself at your original self, the layers of your misperception of your identity peel away layer after layer after layer over a long trajectory of a lifetime, and in a willful dedication to the elimination of self, you find your high self again. And so you don't need a near-death experience. You can find yourself, and like Caroline did, as I understand what you're saying, you can find yourself in an isolated situation by choice or by accident. And if you drive yourself into your interior, your awakening comes as a result. And that's what happens. And it's not just Caroline, it's throughout the history of the world, meditation and interior work, and whether it's Tai Chi or some kind of yoga with your prana, or whether it's focused Zazen or some kind of focused meditation life, fasting, the deeper you go inside yourself, the more the layers are peeled away, the more space there is for the divine presence, the greater your connection to the divine, but to everything else that there is. That's all I want to say there.
Thank you.
Caroline, you want to add to that?
Well, sure. Like everything Peter just said is so true, resonates completely. The quantum physics aspect of it, because it was quantum physics that awoke in me to who I truly am as a sovereign divine being of light. And that's who we all are, never separated, how we're all interconnected and interdependent. And the unique aspect is we are supposed, all 7 billion people on the planet, we are supposed to be unique, because we're unique aspects of God. God's not playing 2 people at once. He's playing 7 billion different people. Okay. And they're all unique with unique different perspectives. So biggest part of my message is unity within diversity, meaning we don't have to agree. I can have conversations, and I do this all the time. I have conversations with people who we don't agree almost on anything, but I don't allow it. I never allow it to go and become an argument, a fight, or a debate. And people will say, well, what's wrong with debate? No, debate means there's a winner or a loser. No, there is no winner or loser. It's allowing that person to have their unique perspective and them allowing you to have your unique perspective. And at the end of the conversation, you can agree to disagree and still have love and respect for each other.
Mm-hmm.
That is how we get to world peace, because we don't want to be clones of each other. We don't want to all think alike and, just be clones of each other. That's what the globalists want. We are unique, individual, sovereign, divine aspects of all that is. And each one of us is needed to complete the puzzle. The whole of God is not complete without each one of us. And so that is so beautiful. And it just to touch upon the fasting again, I intend to start a 3-day fast today with my 3-day fast, which is all liquid and mostly liquid, my organic smoothie, and just one salad. So my one meal today will be an organic salad, just raw food. And I'm starting today because you guys have inspired me to start that today. But yes, this is amazing. I'm so excited.
Kathy, would you like to add to this?
Well, Omar, you and I have had conversations before about food and frequency.
Mm-hmm.
I feel right now I have a desire to hold as much of my soul light that I experienced in my spiritually transformative experience into this vessel. And I find that if I watch what I eat, high vibrational food or liquids, I can hold more light. So I'm pretty much a vegan. I cheat every once in a while. Sometimes I'll eat bread that has something in it, but otherwise, and I don't eat breakfast. I fast from dinner to 11, 12 o'clock in the day. And but I'm actually sensitive. It's almost like I wait to be told what to eat. I'll actually sit and go, oatmeal? No. Salad? Yes. I actually test and ask my body, because that's the way I can be in service, is to hold more light, to do what I do. So that's all I have to say. And I use the other thing, filtered water, and I spin it in a device with a magnet that allows it to create a vortex, then put it in a blue bottle that is sacred geometry and put it out in the sun. So I usually drink almost a gallon, as much of a gallon of water as I can a day. That is
Perfect.
way strong. I mean, people will come over and go, can I have some of that yummy water?
Well, you know what I do? I'm sure everybody here has heard of Dr. Emoto.
Uh-huh.
I literally label my water. Like this one doesn't have it. You see, it doesn't have the store-bought water. I only buy 100% natural spring water. But on this, normally it would be a label that says, I love you. Thank you. I love you. I literally write, and I know I got made fun of. I was in yoga class with one of my labeled bottles of water. Yes. And people were like, you write love notes to your water? I said, yes, I do, because it's alive. And so that's a way of raising the frequency of the water you drink by labeling it. I love you. And when I put the label on there and say, that says, thank you, I love you, but I also hold it tight and say, thank you, I love you. Right. So with the words and the written words and the spoken words, you're raising your frequency of your water.
I think that's where prayer over our meals came from, was we wanted to change the vibration. And I believe it's true. I believe that we're that powerful.
Yes, we are. We definitely are. Yes.
I totally agree with that, Kathy, of the prayer over the food. Regardless on which culture or which religion you look at, they all have that same consistency within them to where you're thanking your food and thanking the universe for providing for you. And I do the, exactly the same thing. And actually, Caroline, I talk about the water at the closing of my stream almost on a daily basis. I every time I pick up my, you know, jar of juice, before I swallow it, I give it thanks, right? And I've done experiments here at home with my family, and when I make ice cubes, I clean the tray first, and then I give gratitude to the tray, and then I give thanks to the water for giving me sustenance, to my family and to the world, and then I put it into the freezer and I allow it to freeze. And now I've done a couple of different experiments with this. First, I didn't tell my family about it, number one. And then number two, when I was doing it, I was comparing the ice cube trays to my tray to somebody else's tray that didn't have the awareness of it. And what I found is that when I did my ceremony over the water, the ice cubes are crystal clear. Like they're crystal clear. There's no fog in them. You can go like that and you can see right through them. And then I saw the trays from my family, and what I've noticed is that the ice cubes were extremely foggy. And then when you go to crack the tray, all of the water, it was so brittle that it literally it just falls apart, right? And in case of my cubes, they were coming out just perfect. And then after I informed my family about this, they began doing the very same thing. And I think they're doing it subconsciously or consciously or however. But now, regardless of which ice cube tray that I'm picking up, they're both the same. Right. So, it is it's very, very important, water, to give it thanks and to give it gratitude, because without it, we're dead in 3 days. Right. It is everywhere. Our planet is made of it. Our bodies are made of it. The food that we eat is made of it. Damn, the air that we breathe is made of it, because there's mist in that air. So it is extremely, extremely important. I would say it's the most important thing on the planet is to give that thanks to the water so that it begins to behave in manners like this, of what Dr. Emoto was saying. Same thing with rice, Carolina. I don't know if you know, but same thing with the rice. So you can take a container of rice and you can write "I love you" on it, put it in the fridge, and another Tupperware of rice that you didn't put anything on it, and you come back a few days later, the one that didn't have any writing on it is actually gone rotten, is beginning to mold, and the rice that you had written "I love you" on it is still fresh as it was when the day that it was cooked, right? So, and that is just pure science, and and proof.
Yes.
Right there, that this practice does work. And if you incorporate that practice into your daily lives, then you'll see that your mental health, your physical health, your spiritual health is just going to get better and better and better and better.
So true.
It is. It sure is. Caroline, you had mentioned earlier, and I'm a proponent of that when we come into this world, we make soul contracts, and we are on a certain agenda. We choose the people that we want to be born to, and we choose the experiences that we're going to have in our life so that we can achieve lessons from those. And I've just come to a realization, not that long ago, that if we plan our entry into this world, then guaranteed we have planned our exit as well. Now, regardless on how that exit is, it could be a car accident, it could be a natural death, a plane crash, maybe you've been murdered, whatever the case may be, as horrible as it sounds to us, but that is the contract that soul had made with that individual, because that's the experience that they wanted to experience when they left this density. So it's a part of their lessons. Maybe they get murdered, and perhaps that's like a karmic lesson from before, that maybe perhaps before they were a murderer, or they were in war and they'd killed somebody, and for them to experience that, they had to come into this density and then go through that exit so that they can learn on what not to do the next time they've incarnated into a physical body.
Very, very true. Very true. Yes.
So my friends, my beautiful friends, I love you guys and I appreciate you guys, and I just have so much respect for you guys, just simply for the reason of being brave and standing up and sharing your experiences. Like Peter, it took him 20 years. He wanted to go to school and he wanted to learn how to articulate so that he can give a proper description, and man, has he ever. I just appreciate that from you guys, and not only that, but to come onto the world stage and share your wisdom and share your experiences, as difficult as they may have been, but still to share those and to raise people's awareness and vibration, and that's what really counts the most here. And then now you guys are headed into this conference at Salt Lake City, which is, in itself going to have like a really conscious, positive effect on the world and the environment that you guys are in, because we know from ourselves from doing experiments. Like there was a experiment done in Chicago a few years ago where a bunch of people began to meditate, and when they were meditating, the crime rate in that city came down. So I'm guessing that with your guys' vibration and the distortion that you guys are at, and the amount of meditation that's going to take place at this conference is really going to have a conscious effect on the environment. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look up the crime statistics of Salt Lake City and then compare those crime statistics between August 31st and September 4th and see exactly, if the crime rates went down, if the love went up, charity work went up, things like that, right? Because what you guys are doing is just amazing. And this is the, part of the new earth and, and the new timeline, right? Because everyone is waking up, right? And I love it that we're out of our slumber and finally beep 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 is going and we're not hitting snooze anymore. We're like, okay, it's time to get up, time to go to work.
It's past time. I feel like we're in the midst of the awakening. It's going faster because time is moving faster. Time we know is not real, but we also know science has proven this again, that time is relative. But when we're having fun, this is a perfect example. When we're having fun, does it not seem like the time just flew by? Yes. And if we were having if we're miserable, just awful miserable, doesn't it seem like a second took an hour?
Yes.
Time
Yes.
it's proven scientifically that when you're at a high frequency vibration, what we call time speeds up exponentially. And when you're at a low frequency, it goes very, very slow. So yes, so so what I'm saying, I feel we're right in the middle of 2022 is the middle of the Great Awakening. Got download from my higher self in March of 2020 that the Great Awakening has begun. So this was a direct download. I was like, and I was literally just dancing around the house. Yeah. I made a video. I even made a thank you video to the globalists, like, because you guys got it started. Oh yeah. I'm serious, all serious. And I say the sincere thank you. But so what I'm saying is that I feel 2022 is that midpoint, and by the end of this year, of this calendar year of 2022, I believe things are going to be very, very different going into 2023.
Absolutely, it will be. Yes. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's do our final closing. Your final words, your final, words of wisdom to anyone that's watching today and anyone that's going to be watching in the future. So, Brooke, I'll start with you, and then we'll jump over to Peter, and then we'll do Caroline, and then Kathy and I will do our closing. So, Brooke, go ahead, please.
Words of wisdom.
Wrong one.
Okay, you caught me off guard. You caught me off guard by putting me first. Okay, let me think. Let me feel into it for a moment. There's so much noise right now, internally, externally, news, social media, expectations. And if we can just pause for a moment to trust the divine order. Circling back to how I entered this space with you, I was talking about some very difficult things, many of which are still with me in this moment. And yet, through the breath, through the pause, through surrender, we are allowed to be just as we are in this sacred moment. All of that other stuff fades away, and we are the sovereign soul reflection of the divine here and now. And this awareness, this reflection, this connection is our highest truth at all times. And it is always available, no matter what the circumstance. Hold that sacred. Know that you can tap into it at any moment, and trust that everything that is unfolding here and now has a higher purpose. And your soul intrinsically knew that. And that is why you are with us in this moment. And if you need to laugh, watch cat videos, because they're on the internet in abundance.
Cat videos.
Love you guys.
My wife and I were just looking at your cat trying to escape.
I know, I couldn't ignore him. I was staying in the moment, and then I'm like, okay, Apollo, you get a shout out. So a little levity. Levity is very good medicine. So laugh.
Yeah,
laugh,
absolutely. Laugh. I think my cat was digging it too. Gilbert was looking at your cat going, hey, where's he going?
I'm determined to get that door open. He's like, you're getting too serious, Mom. Don't get too serious. So yes, play. Play is medicine too. Play through it. Play through the breath. Play through whatever you need to center. Just remember that it's always there.
Beautiful. Thank you very much, Brooke. Let's jump to Peter. You're muted, Peter.
I said, I'm going to let the poet speak for me and go back to mute.
No. You can't do that.
Okay.
Too funny.
Okay.
Laugh, guys, laugh.
All right. So everything she said and silence really is the way out. If you want to go out, you have to go in. And the more you go in, the stronger you become in the world. The radiance that was being spoken of before, the presence of the divine in our lives, can become the experience of your living, and a constant presence. And a constant presence, the deeper you go. The deeper you go, the more space you have inside yourself, the more space you have inside yourself for the light to be inside of you, the more it expands inside you and actually goes outside of you. So I was thinking about water and food. If you're living a life on your interior where you're always aiming toward the oneness of being, everything you touch and do becomes an act of gratefulness. So then everything that happens around you is connected with that. And it's not just about the blessing of the good water. It's about the blessing of the bad day. And the deeper you create this space inside yourself on a daily basis, the more that becomes present throughout your life. And if it's every day of your life, then it's your entire life. And that's it. And all she said. Back to mute.
Thank you, Peter. Caroline, please go ahead.
Oh, well, thank you so much. And again, words can't express my gratitude for you having me and inviting me to this wonderful panel and all of this wonderfulness that is happening right now. Words are so poor in describing it, but it's so true about the oneness, the true understanding that no one on this planet is separate from you, and no one on this planet is separate from God, no matter how they seem to be behaving, because many have forgotten who they are. Many have forgotten their connection to each other and to God. But you, as an awakened being, you're the one that is awake. So it's like when I think, when I encounter someone who's not awake to the truth of who they are, I think of them as a baby. You know, all you can do with a baby is look upon them with love. So I just look upon them with unconditional love and remember, no matter how they're acting and behaving, they're not separate from me. They're just asleep. And it is time for all of us to wake up now. But everybody's going to waking up is a soul decision. And so if someone's not awake, don't judge them. It's their soul has not decided to wake up. And from what I understand, not every soul on the planet has decided to wake up in this time. But in time is an illusion, time is unreal. So their soul will wake them up because it's an internal awakening, is an internal journey. And my solitude was such a blessing. And I know this is hard for humans to understand, but our greatest challenges are our greatest blessings because we plan those challenges so we can wake up. I wouldn't be able to help parents that have children in spirit if I didn't go through that experience myself. So it's all of our challenges are for our highest good, and what we call the bad days, like Peter just said, they're really our greatest blessings. They truly are. So what we want to do is give thanks and be love in every now moment.
Wow.
That was great.
Beautiful.
Thank you very much, Peter, Brooke, Caroline, Tricia, Jose, Dr. Gerali. That was an amazing week of learning and awareness raising. I appreciate you guys, and thank you for your time this week and as well as today. It is a great service to humanity to share these messages and to help wake the rest up. And as Caroline says, maybe everyone is not ready to wake up. Maybe they're not going to wake up, but that's their choice. And our choice is our choice. And we choose to wake up and continue on our journey. And we shouldn't discriminate against others that don't want to wake up because perhaps that's their life experience that they want to have. And we should respect that and respect their choices and not ridicule anyone, not judge anyone. Because remember, when you're pointing and you're judging, you have three fingers pointed back at you, right? So the judgment of others is the judgment of yourself, right? So thank you guys. I really, really appreciate it. Kathy, my lovely co-host and co-creator, my buddy, bestie, sister, star sister, whatever you want to call it. Thank you so much. This was an amazing week. And I'm sure that you're going to have a lot of fun at Salt Lake City coming up in just a week.
Yes. Well, I'm a volunteer, so they'll be working me hard. Seriously, it's not as much a vacation as one might think. But I wanted to thank everyone that's participated in this and that is participating in IANDS, because I really want to thank you for activating the wisdom of everyone's soul. Because I really think that's the biggest gift you can give us. Thank you.
Absolutely. What a wonderful week, guys. And thank you very much to everyone who came out and watched us this week, and everyone who liked and shared this message with friends and family on your social medias and what have you. That's your way of doing light work and helping people to wake up, is just by simply sharing streams like these. And not only that, but take away what you've learned from this and discuss it with your friends and around the dinner table, coffee table, at a restaurant, at a bar, wherever you go, because these are some very, very interesting conversations. And believe me, every single one of us will experience this. So it's better to be equipped with knowledge and tools and, approach this without fear, because fear is the number one thing that really keeps us back and it holds us behind from our true true potential of what we really, really are. And that is infinite possibilities. We are all that there ever is, ever was, or ever will be. We are everything that there is. We are gods that are aspects of that God here in this physical form. So guys, thank you very much. My name is Omar, coming at you guys from West Coast, British Columbia, Canada, with my lovely co-host, Kathy Mason, and our panelists, Brooke Grove, Peter Panagore, Caroline Chang. And let's just do a quick rundown from who we had this week. Big shout out to Tricia Barker Barton for her, profound presentation here during this week, and of course to Dr. Pamela Gerali and the blueprint that she is working with. That is amazing, and I'd love to learn more about that as time goes forward. And Peter Panagore, man, this is going to be my next best friend, because I just totally love the way Peter articulates and speaks through metaphors and such, because I do the very same thing. I speak through metaphors. And of course, Jose Hernandez, feeling colors. Colors are consciousness that can be felt. And what an amazing experience, and a beautiful, beautiful art that he has. So I'm really looking forward to hanging out with Jose, because he's a neighbor of mine. And big shout out and a thanks to Brooke Grove, just an amazing lady with just tons of energy and beautiful energy as well, which I've thoroughly enjoyed. Her interactions with us, and taken away a lot of wisdom and knowledge from Brooke. So thank you very much to Brooke. And then least but not last, Caroline Chang. I love Caroline. She is down to earth and just like me, I would say, blunt, and we'll put it on you when you're going offside. And that's exactly what we need in our lifetimes, because that is unconditional love there. Because when someone sees that you're doing something that is, offside, it is love that steps up and says, hey, maybe you shouldn't do that. Maybe you should approach things like this and like that. So, I truly appreciate that. Especially the lessons that I got in the beginning of the stream with the mind, so I love it. I love that type of stuff. And, guys, please, I implore you, if you can, please visit IANDS website and try and see if you can get some tickets and be there in person. And if not in person, then a virtual is just as well. And you have access to the recordings for 180 days, which is 6 months. That's casual watching. If you want binge watch, that's up to you, because I'm a binge watcher myself. But sitting around every single day and eating dinner and talking with friends and family, of people's experiences will create great conversation and awareness around the dinner table. And who knows, maybe the kids will go to school the next day and say, hey, we talked about this, and then they'll raise awareness in their schools as well, amongst their teachers and peers and other parents. So guys, much love to you all. Good luck at the conference. I wish I could be there, but I will be there in spirit. I'll be remote viewing you guys. So any final words, Kathy, before we end our stream for the day?
Just pure appreciation and gratitude to all of this whole thing's been fantastic. And again, I feel like I've expanded from this experience. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I've had a lot of answers to the questions that I've been asking for a very long time. So gratitude for that. Yeah. All right, guys, be well and be safe. And don't forget to say that I love you to yourself, and show yourself gratitude when you walk into the bathroom in the morning, because that's the first place we go. And there's a great big mirror in there just looking right at you. And when you look at that, say I love you, give yourself gratitude. And as we just talked about water, it is a very, very, very powerful medium.
That's funny.
And laugh.
No, I'm not a writer.
Okay.